Hello everybody, here we are for week 6 in the CFL. I'm going to be doing a preview / prediction video for this week. So before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new. If not, no big deal. Now let's get into it. So the first game of the week will be Friday night, and that will be Thursday night. Hamilton Tiger Cats traveling over to Edmonton to play the Elks. This one will be at 9 o'clock. I probably won't be asleep, but I doubt that I'll be catching more than the first quarter of this game. Hamilton, of course, coming off of a very big win last week against the Elks. Not the Elks, the Ottawa Redblacks. And that was a great win for them, their first win of the year as they get a little bit of life. And they do so by getting 5 field goals from Mark Leggio. And then they end up stopping Crum from getting into the end zone for Ottawa towards the end of that game. A win is a win. Obviously, Ottawa is towards the bottom of the CFL standings right now, understandably, but they were able to get a win there. Edmonton coming off of a very, very painful loss to the Rough Riders. Who am I going to be picking in this one? I'll try to keep this one fairly short because this is the least expected to be a good game of the week, I guess if you want to say that. I'm going to be picking the Edmonton Elks. I know this sounds a little bit crazy because they are 0-5 to start the season for the first time since 1965. And I think that if they lose this game, they'll be the first team possibly ever in the CFL era for Edmonton to start a year 0-6. But for me, I'm looking at this and saying that Taylor Cornelius played relatively well last week. And this is a club that I think if they can get a couple of touchdowns, a couple of field goals, they very well could beat Hamilton. Yes, Ottawa's defense is pretty good, so I guess theoretically Hamilton could have more success against the Edmonton defense, but at the same time, I also feel like Cornelius should be better than what the Ottawa Redblacks had to do with when Mazzoli went down, so we will see. And I feel like I'm being a little bit of an optimist here, so if you want to clip this for win, or if Edmonton wins to say this guy knows what's up, you can clip it. If you want to clip it for when I'm wrong and you say Hamilton's 2-3, and wins a big game, you can do that as well. Ultimately, though, I do think this is a bigger game than most times when you see two bad teams play, because Hamilton would be 2-3 after this game if they win it, and that would be good for their ability to get into the playoffs in the East, especially to try to stay in the hunt for that second spot in the East. But for Edmonton to avoid making possible history, I don't know if that's confirmed. That is just my assumption. But anyway, we will see. What are your picks for that one as we move on to the next one? Then the second game of the week, Friday night, will be the Toronto Argonauts heading to Montreal to play the Alouettes. I think this very well could be the game of the week. You're looking at Toronto coming off of a bye. They have a incredible start. I think this is the first time that they've started 3-0 to start a season since the 90s. So they are looking good there. Toronto is a team that, of course, is looking to defend their Grey Cup, and they take on a familiar foe in their division rival, that being the Montreal Alouettes. Montreal started off the year 2-0. They've lost the past 2 games to the Lions and the Blue Bombers. Don't know why I spaced it there, but also I have to say that neither of those losses were especially bad by any means, and their defense, of course, was able to limit Winnipeg to 17 points, and then, some bad turnovers and stuff like that for them really hurt them in the Lions game. So this is kind of interesting where I see Montreal after this game. I think we'll have a much clearer idea of what this team is and whether or not they'll make the playoffs. If they win this game, obviously that's big for them. If they lose this game closely, then you know that, hey, they are a team that could beat up on other teams that are below them, teams above them, not so much, but maybe good enough to get in the playoffs. If they lose this one badly, you can say, well, they started off the year 2-0, but that's 3 losses in a row, obviously 3 good sides, but maybe this is more of the team that we expected them to be. In this game, I'm going to be picking Toronto. Got to be honest with you here. I think the Argos are going to win this one, or they should. They're coming off of a bye. Teams coming off the bye are doing pretty well this year. And the Argonauts, I do think, are a better team. I could imagine Montreal's defense definitely making it hard for Kelly, because obviously the defense has been able to limit points this year. So for them, obviously in that situation, you probably have to rely on Ouellette to be able to get the rock and be able to get business done there. And for the Argos defense, forcing turnovers and basically making Fajardo get out of the pocket. I know he's mobile, but at times it seems like he almost makes the worst decision possible, or you'll see him start to go, stop, realize nothing's going to happen, and then take a sack. Maybe they could force him into that situation where you could, have a good coverage set up, and then basically he thinks, okay, I can break out, and then try to make a throw, throws out there, takes a sack, something like that, I don't know. But in this one, I'm really hoping it is a good one, because I would like to see Montreal either win this or be competitive to really say, okay, they're able to keep it close with better teams, therefore they should be a playoff team this year. And I do think that this one will give us a clear indication of what the Owls are. In Toronto, we already know what they are. They are a pretty good club. I don't know if they're up there with the top yet, but I am pretty quickly getting convinced because of the wins. Then on Saturday, you're probably going to have arguably the worst game in terms of the final scoreline here, as you have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Ottawa Redblacks. Gonna be honest, I already basically am giving away my pick here. It is Winnipeg. Obviously, this is a team that is 4-1. Ottawa is 1-3, and they are down to slim pickings at the quarterback position. Winnipeg is a club that, besides their one loss to the Lions, have been able to win all the remaining games outside of that. And while they maybe don't look as invincible as years past, they've been able to get the job done over a Bo Levi Mitchell-led Hamilton Tiger Cats, a Trevor Harris Saskatchewan Roughriders group that is 3-1, against a Calgary Stampeders Jake Maier-led team, and then of course a much better than expected Montreal team to start the year. So in general, Winnipeg, while maybe not blowing teams out by 40, is still a good squad that's able to beat other teams. So for this one, I'm really just expecting Winnipeg to probably run away with it. Maybe not early, but second half, probably pull away, get a touchdown or two, maybe get a turnover on downs, force a turnover, whatever the case is. Their defensive line's probably going to make some plays. They're probably going to make life pretty miserable. Now for Ottawa, they're going with Crum? Yes, it's Crum. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And he will be out there. Pretty mobile guy, a guy that can move with his legs pretty well. So, maybe that makes it a little bit interesting there. But in the end, he's probably going to throw a couple interceptions because this is a Winnipeg defense. It will make life miserable for him. And I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, Ottawa can pull off the upset. But I'm not convinced just yet. And then our final game of the week, you have the Calgary Stampeders traveling to Saskatchewan to play the Roughriders. This one is big for Calgary, as they are 1-3 to start the season. Saskatchewan 3-1, big game for Saskatchewan as well too, I should say, because that would put a pretty good lead or cushion between them and Calgary in the top 3 in the West, as Calgary is still 4th in the division right now. For this one, the last time we saw these two play, you saw the Roughriders end up winning 29-26 in overtime, as Nick Marshall had his first of 2 game clinching, if you will, interceptions. And this, of course, should be a good affair after we saw Saskatchewan build a bigger lead in the fourth quarter. Or they had like a double-digit lead, I want to say, in the fourth quarter before Calgary really turned it on. Jake Maier is coming off of a really bad game, so maybe he's motivated, ready to go. Ultimately, for this one, I got to be honest here, I'm probably picking Saskatchewan. I could see Calgary winning it, but as of right now, man, Jake Maier does not seem like the type of guy that you want as your quarterback for a team that's looking to make the playoffs consistently and reliably. I'm not saying that Jake couldn't turn into something for you, but at the moment, he's had a few, rough games and had a few games where, for the most part, it's not been his night. If Mills can get running, that is going to be good for them. Obviously, Morrow had a pretty good first half against Calgary in the last game that they played in, so maybe that could be a factor there. But all around, I am going to be picking Saskatchewan here. They are not super impressive with their 2 wins that they had over Edmonton, and then they almost blew the lead to Calgary. But I am saying that for this one, they should just take it out. Definitely the one that I feel like is the most risky here this week, because the Hamilton, Edmonton game has its own little drawbacks. But anyway, what are your thoughts for this week? Totally expecting to go, maybe 1-3 or something like that. I would a little bit more risky this week, but maybe it'll pay off. Anyway, what are your thoughts for these games? I'd love to hear them down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe and have a great night.